Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome to TCL 55, week 7 meetup. As we are down to the wire before we kind of put the final touches on everything. So first of all, how's everybody doing? Good. Cool. Nice nodding faces. Everybody seems to be nobody's like, okay, all that. Great. I suppose we can dive into the demos portion for this week. That being said, we didn't really have our traditional assignments out going on. So that doesn't mean at all that y'all haven't been doing plenty of things. So let me pull up the board. We've got lots of user stories going on. And I know there was lots of discussion around, kind of design systems and stuff happening this week. So does anyone want to volunteer to kind of share the things that we put up on the board and the goals that we hope to, or that the things we did and the things we're hoping to do coming up in the next week?
I can share. I'm just going to talk about the mood board very briefly. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is not the mood board. This is our Figma wireframe mockups, but we started off the week putting various different things into the mood board. Sharda created for us. We talked about styles of, how things could look. We had like posters, we had like notebook styles, we have minimalistic styles, just so that everything's on there. Everybody's talking through literally every single thing, and fonts and colors, things like that. So we had settled on a minimalistic style in the very end. And as you can see, we ended up creating a mock-up for all the pages that are already in the project and then some. So the main page we have originally, this was what we kind of wanted for our main page. It's very similar to the homepage as it currently is. But then this is before we decided on a font style for our main page. So there were a variety of them, and we all talked about which one we liked best. So this is start here, Android small 7. This is what we have decided to go with. This is a animated icon on the bottom that should start animating as the page finishes loading. And then this is a divider in Chakra. This is what we have settled on. And then as for our list page, we have decided to add the title here because most of the time, once the user is logged in, they will no longer be able to go back to the home page. So we kind of want to remind them, hey, this is our app, this is the name of it. And we wanted to make the token accessible to the user as they copy and paste it and share that list, because that was one of the functions was able to share that list. So I wanted to add a copy function in the end. And this is kind of almost like a copy and paste of what our current list page looks like, except we are using the Chakra tab component. In this case, we want to show an all for all the items in case there are very few and it's like kind of spread throughout the different urgency states. One thing we didn't add is try to mention this during our office hours, is to add the different urgency headers here, because right now it's not really clear what the colors mean. So we'll be doing that as well. And then other than that, I know this is a little bit hard to see, but the accordion here, these are accordion components. When you press on them, they should display the details as well. And then there's an X. We probably should highlight this in the right color, but this will essentially delete the item. And the add item page doesn't look very different from what it looks like now. One thing I do want to mention is that this will be implemented by a drawer component. So what that looks like, it's going to be a button here that you can click, and it's kind of going to slide this add item page out. So essentially you have two pages in one view for the user. And we also wanted to add an about me or about this app page. We're going to explain what this app is and how to use it, and then we're going to include information about us. Same thing, this page is going to show up as a drawer over here for the add item, for the list, and then it should also show up in our homepage around here so that people can view that as well. One thing that is missing currently from our wireframes are toast components. These components we're going to be using for our error message handling. And that was it for our week. We broke up the stories typically by page, although there is an initial story, just to get the chakra theming set up.
Cool. Yeah, and I think so. I'm just perusing the list of stories that are kind of over there. We'll let kind of Devin talk about the actual breaking down and kind of assigning of the work probably towards the planning portions towards the end. But I think just doing a quick perusal of them that you have almost all the stuff covered in the cards themselves. So I think everything here is represented over there, which is cool. Anything else we want to demo or discuss? I know that we have decided on chakra as the UI style library of choice here. How are we feeling about that as a tool? Everybody, yay and on board, good with it? Looks that way. Cool.
Yeah, and
Right.
one of the things I was playing around with, because we just jumping off of, what we were adding in, like the toasts and stuff like that. There's one in Chakra called Alert Dialogue. So Chakra also has a lot of accessibility features. So like we were using window confirmed because of its potential, like a little bit better than a modal popping up. So Chakra has features like that already built in, which is pretty cool. So we can use things like alert dialogue and stuff like that. So I'm glad it has that kind of built in.
Great. And does anyone have any lingering, outstanding questions about anything that we, got into this week or that we have coming up? All right, team, you guys are on top of it. That's a good thing. Honestly, you guys are doing great. This looks incredible. And it seems like you've kind of already got a plan and moving along. So this is excellent stuff. And I'm excited to see how it all comes together and we wrap it up. Before we get digging into the details, we do have a learning module for the week, which is our accessibility one. It's kind of an important one that we've been alluding to for a while. So I think I will hand that over to Shraddha if you want to.
Thanks, Lyle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll share my screen.
Shraddha, you're muted.
Yeah, you're on mute.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
Yeah. Hi, guys. So today we'll be having a learning module on web accessibility. And it's one of the important things to know both as designers and as web developers. So without further ado, we'll get into it. So on the internet, mostly you will find something called A11Y, A11Y, and it's related to accessibility. It means accessibility, but why is it like that? It's basically a numeronym. The 11 represents here the 11 number of letters between A and Y. So it is basically accessibility. That's what you're seeing when you find A11Y on the web. So the first thing first is, what is web accessibility? Like, what does it mean? As the slide says, it's an inclusive practice of ensuring that there is no barrier that prevent interaction with websites on the internet by people with physical disabilities, situational disabilities, or any other socioeconomic restrictions on bandwidth and speed. Well, web accessibility, if you think over, it encompasses all disabilities that can affect a person, and it could include auditory, cognitive, neurological, speech, visual, or any other like disability that you could think of. So the point is, whatever a person is having difficulty with, they should be able to access the web without any barrier. And if you give it a more thought, web accessibility is not just for people having any physical disabilities. It's also beneficial for people, normal people, who are not having any disabilities or problems, but they are placed in certain situations where web accessibility could help them access the internet better, the websites better. Like suppose people who are using internet with mobile phones, smartwatches, or smart TVs, etc., with different input modes, web accessibility plays a crucial role of their whole experience of browsing the web. Older people with challenging ability, like with changing abilities, also benefit a lot with it. People like somebody who has met with an accident, they have like broken arm, or they can access the just use the internet like device, the mobile device or laptop, but just with one hand. So they have some situational limitations. So in those areas, how are they gonna use the internet? How are they gonna surf the internet better? Web accessibilities play a very important role in there. So as in the site, it's also mentioned that W3C, World Wide Web Consortium, maintains a working group dedicated to web accessibility, and it publishes related standards that you could easily find on the internet. There are various governmental policies across the world that kind of having a legal laws that we should have the websites accessible for all type of people. In the US, it's Section 508 that requires government agencies to make websites accessible to people with disabilities. When we talk about web accessibilities, that topic is not very much complete if we don't know what is assistive technologies. We have to be aware of like how anybody having some form of disabilities access websites. They do so by using one of the assistive technologies. When we think of assistive technologies, the very first thing that comes in our head is screen readers, but they are not the only ones. There are screen magnifiers, speech to text, and other dictation software, assistive keyboards even, braille displays, and many other tools. So when you are developing a website, you should think of a huge amount of like certain portion of people who are accessing your websites using one of these tools or technologies. So that's all good. Like we got to know what web accessibility is and how people access the websites who are having certain disabilities. But the next question that might come to your head is like, why should I even bother about web accessibilities? Like, why is it important? First thing first is, it is the right thing to do. The web should be accessible to everybody, regardless of like their physical, whatever their abilities are, or regardless of their socioeconomic and situational circumstances, they should be able to use the web with dignity. That's the right thing to do. So that's why web accessibility is a big thing too. You may be legally obligated to make your website accessible. As I mentioned earlier, like throughout the world, many countries have laws that we have to adhere to regarding web accessibilities. And you would be surprised that many people in United States that we usually don't think of actually access websites with one or the other assistive technologies. And even like making your pages more accessible for people with disabilities, it not only just helps them, it makes them more accessible for everyone in general. As I talked about, like people in certain situations, they can make use of these different ways to access the web in a better way. So in the next screen, like you would see something known as the persona spectrum. Well, this is from Microsoft. Microsoft has developed a design methodology that helps designing a diversity of ways for everyone to participate in an experience with a sense of belonging. They call it inclusive design. So this is one of the pages, like it's mentioned, the slide is from their inclusive design methodology, and it is persona spectrum. So you would wonder, like, what is a persona actually? So personas are basically fictional character which we could create based upon our research in order to represent different user types that might use your service. And creating personas basically help designers to understand users' needs, experiences, behaviors, and goals. So Microsoft has given this diagram, basically, that you could see as the spectrum, different spectrum of people that you should keep in your head when you are designing or developing a website. They might fall into either of these three categories, having permanent disabilities, temporary, or situational. So this could be very helpful. You could refer it now and then to just keep in your head that, oh, my website should be accessible by any of the person falling in any of these categories. So that's all the while you were like trying to understand what is web accessibility and why is it important, why we should even bother about it. But after understanding, it's like, how can we make sure that our product or web app is accessible to everyone? This topic is very detailed. Yes, we could always research about it more, but there are very simple best practices that we could follow while developing. That itself will help in web accessibility a lot. The first and foremost thing is use valid semantic HTML. So semantic HTML elements like header, footer, they communicate the meaning of their enclosed content to both the browser and the developer. Semantic HTML is kind of treated as a foundation of the web accessibility now, because assistive technologies depend on the semantic structure and meaning of web pages to convey the information to their users. So make it a point, like whenever you are writing code or basically any web app, just make use of, understand the semantic HTML tags properly, when to use it and where to use it, and use it properly to convey a proper meaning of your content on the website. That helps a lot. The second very general thing you would have heard about, like always include alt attributes on your image tags. It's very, very important. Screen readers read the alt text on every pages to their users. And also there would be cases that you might have your internet slow, or because of certain reason, your image on the page is not able to be loaded. At that time, this all text attributes are displayed, and it kind of shows you that, okay, image is not shown, but this is what the image was about. And what I have seen generally is that people usually provide a value for alt attributes, but they are not what they are supposed to be. You should give a very clear cut to the point description of what exactly that image is about. Like describe the image. Don't use language like image of or picture of something. It's very obvious that it is an image on picture of. Just describe it, what it is, what's happening in the picture. Just think it that a person who cannot see, if you have to describe that image, what would you do in a very concise way? The next thing is use ARIA attributes. We'll discuss about that in more detail in the coming slides. Ensure that all content is reachable via keyboard, like by tab. You should be able to access all the interactive elements of your web page. By pressing enter, you should be able to submit your form. Like there are simple things that you should take care. Ensure all interactive elements have reasonable target sizes. So, well, this is something you should always keep in mind. Like any interactive element, be it a button or a hamburger or your hyperlink, they should have a proper clickable area around it. It shouldn't be very small that a person should struggle. It should have enough area so that like you could interact with a hamburger or hyperlink on your page. Use sufficient color contrast, very, very necessary. There are so many tools available on the internet where you can actually compare and see the color that you are choosing for your web page is having enough contrast or not. Don't use only color to signify state. So non-visual or visual users who cannot access color must be taken into account when using color to emphasize elements. information conveyed with color must also be communicated textually to be effective. So these are like the basic things that if we keep in our mind while writing code, designing websites, we will make a difference. Now, the next thing that comes very often is ARIA attributes. What are they? They stand for accessible, rich internet applications. And these are basically used to make your HTML tags more accessible for assistive technologies. But before we use them, since nowadays we have HTML has progressed this much, actually, we have proper semantic HTML. So the first rule of ARIA is, if you can use a native HTML element, a semantic HTML element or attribute, using that, if you can convey the content of your web page, please do so without using the ARIA attributes. For example, suppose you have to make a button. So use button tag for it. Don't use an anchor tag and use ARIA attribute on top of it to mark it as a button, or don't use a div and just style it like a button and then use ARIA attributes to mark it as a button and make it accessible. That's not great. Use button element because that's given to you, and it has certain benefits, like how semantic HTMLs are accessed and processed by the assistive technologies. So how do we use these attributes? So you would see, like, you would have seen these things, like on this HTML element button, you would say, like, what's the role of it and what's the state. So you would say, like, the attributes role and ARIA check work together to tell assistive technology users that there is a switch called Wi-Fi and that it is on. So this basically helps the assistive technology devices to understand more about why and what this particular HTML element is doing. How should we not use these attributes? Well, as I told you before, they have some overlap with HTML. It was very useful before we actually had the semantic HTML and all. But now our HTML elements have progressed to this extent that they themselves convey very important meaning to assistive tools. So if you see the following two HTML elements, it's like in the first line, we are creating a button. In the second line, we are using a div, which is actually a container element. But then we would have styled it and make it look like a button. But here we are putting its role as button. Which one is the good way to do that? If you see, the first one is the most preferred way and is the correct way to make button. By default, the role button is added to it. You don't have to do it. Don't do it using div or like any other thing and just add ARIA attributes on that. That's not a great thing to do. So the next thing is, how do we identify accessibility issues for remediation? There are many tools available. Automated tools such as X, that's a good start, but kind of find only 30% of the issues. There are several audits available. Audits by accessibility testers by companies such as Fable Tech Labs. And most importantly, if you have a chance and you could do that, you could get a feedback from real users with disabilities. Sometimes I feel like, well, I am on laptop a lot or using my mobile a lot. My eye was strained, and then I would switch to speech to text either on my mobile or laptop. That's when I realized, like, oh, this is how like people would be perceiving or like browsing the content without real keyboard or like without really seeing it. So it's very important to once in a while have an experience of that. And when you code it and you develop a website, just keep those experiences in your mind. So that was all the theory time. There is a quick demo that I wanted to show you guys. Just let me get there. This is a website. I'll be showing you to a website and we'll show you a demo using browser extension. And I'll show you basically here how can we, like how tab stops on a web page is very important, so that you can access the interactive elements on your web page using tabs, using your keyboard, not with mouse. So this is the first page, and I have this. I'll share the link with you guys, like what are the web extensions and all. So let me demo for the tab stops. See it properly. I'm going to press tabs now, and you will see the order in which it would be that the content is accessible. So it starts from the top, goes here. Then it is actually starting from top and coming to down. And then it progresses from left to right, goes left to right, and all the interactive elements. And this is how it goes. So do you think this is the correct way to put the tab stops in a page? Well, ideally, it is accepted that the tab stop should be from top to down, top to bottom, and left to right of the content. Like what will be the normal flow of the content? That is how your tab stop should be. And every interactive elements on your page should be accessible by keyboards. Don't put tab stops for something that is you are not supposed to interact with. They are just the content. I'll show you the other page, and the same thing. We'll see the tab stops here. How it goes. Yeah. So be very careful to notice how it all goes. I'm going to press the tab key. And you see the first thing comes in the form, because obviously in the page, the most important thing is that form to book your trip. Then it went here, and then it suddenly jumped up. And then it is starting to go from left to right. So this kind of flow of accessing the content with your keyboard is not great. Having tab stop abruptly starting from the middle of the page is not great. It doesn't give you a proper layout or flow of the content to anybody accessing these contents via keyboards. So that's not great. You should always keep in your mind. There are other things that we could discuss about these two pages. There are issues. If you see for this page, just a second, we'll go for the heading. So as you see on this page, there's one H1 like heading, and then there are H2 level headings. That's a great thing, actually. For all the web pages, there should be one and only one like H1 tag. How you use your heading should be like an order. It shouldn't be like, oh, I want a small font size or big font size, so I should use certain level of heading. No, it should be in the hierarchical, like a proper hierarchy of your content. Based on that, basically you are going to use your headings. Don't skip the levels of the heading just like that. It doesn't make sense. So this page, as of now, like as far as we could see, is doing great. But let's come to the other page. Like, how are they using the heading? Let me give them a refresh. Okay. Yeah. So you see here, they have one H1, maybe destination Mars is whatever is the topic of the web page. They are trying to keep it as a main heading. Great. But then the description just below it, they have kept it as H2. That shouldn't be a heading. That could be achieved. That's just a description. You could keep it as a paragraph tag, right? And then there are multiple H3s that, yeah, somewhere it makes sense. Come to this section, they have the special offers. That should also be one of the H2s. And I mean, yeah. So you could just, there are several other issues in this page I would share. the link with you guys. You can look over it and just understand like how badly you could like use the things and just learn from it. Don't repeat it in your own code. So that's all from my side. Is there anything you guys want to ask or like discuss about?
I have a standing on a soapbox statement about this stuff. Just that as a developer, it is your job to be the one to be thinking about this. And it is your job to do this by default. And it is your job to factor this in to the time estimates for any amount of work that you are going to do. If you wait for somebody else to come along and say to you, did we think about accessibility here? It's probably not going to happen. And you are going to get pushback from people because doing this well and right, and it's very, very hard to get it so that like your website is 100% accessible to every scenario all the time. And there's always what ifs that you can throw in there. Like, what about right to left languages? And what about, you know, specific color blindnesses and stuff? Like, it's hard to get all the answers, but you got to do the best effort that you can. And you'll get pushback because you're adding in things to do that take time, and that a lot of your stakeholders are probably not going to care or understand why you are making a big deal about this stuff. And you need to try and do it anyway, because it is the right thing to do. It a lot of times is required by law and compliance. And, you know, you want to be a developer who's building the web for everybody and not just to make people happy and get it done. So, I say this knowing from experience and knowing that, you know, there's only a small handful of times where I've been in situations where I feel like everybody's actually been on the same side here and agreeing that this is the right stuff to do. Thankfully, I'm in a place now that generally cares about that stuff, but I've been in places before that have not at all cared about the accessibility, except for that they had a government contract they were trying to get, and so they had to clean up a bunch of stuff to pass the certification so they could get it. So you got to be the ones starting from the ground up to make this important, because it is. So I would just say take that to heart as you go into wherever you land in your journey, and you got to be the advocate here for this stuff. The world's getting better. More and more people care about this, but it's still an uphill battle.
Yeah, and I also feel like as a web developer, it's more of a mentality. Like, obviously, we cannot achieve everything, web accessibility all over, but from the scratch, when we are starting, it should be a mentality to like just keep these things in head. Few things are very simple. We could achieve it early on. You don't have to like think about it later. So yeah.
And it's a lot easier to build accessibility in when you first build it than to go back and try and make an existing product accessible where it wasn't. It's just way, way, way easier to do it right in the first place. I'm shutting up now. That was my grandstanding.
All right, so see, you all have been quite busy this week. I see 8 new issues on the board, 2 per developer. Did you all start any work on any of them so far, or was it just creating issues this week?
It was just creating issues.
Okay, and so right now I notice as each person has created 2 issues each with acceptance criteria for each one. Did you all have a specific system of if you're going to pay for these or have peer reviews for these? Or was it just like independent work and then?
So I think the one where we're setting up Chakra, that one, when we talked about it, we wanted to come together and, you know, make sure everything worked, like make sure we know what the colors were, the naming and that. But in terms of the actual stories, I think we're splitting it up into 2 developers like we usually do.
Okay.
So so we're gonna get those reviewed from each other.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan in that sense. I guess I could share screen. So this is good. This was so thorough and you know, very well laid out. So I see Jeremiah's issues were set up an installation of Chakra and importing Chakra into the app, as well as extending Chakra to use the chosen colors and fonts. Yeah. So Jeremiah, is it that you plan to work on these issues specifically, like yourself?
We're doing at least the first one together as a group.
Right.
I'm not sure about the second one, but yeah.
All right. Then I see Catherine has 2 for list design, so should be able to see tabs with all the items. All right. So this will, I guess, style and sort by category and urgency, and then also. Sorry about that. Open the same issue twice.
Once we go through these, we may want to number them.
I think they were. Oh, and they featured a copied list. Yeah. And see, Tisha had done 2 for the add item design. So implementation of the Chakra draw. And also being able to enter details in the add item. So those look good as well. I think you'll have like more thorough acceptance criteria than the original issues that we had. It's very impressive. And then, yeah, it looks like she was handling the homepage appearance and the about section. So this all looks good. I mean, it looks like a lot, but considering the way all of it worked through the last week, I think it seems, it is very doable in that sense. Yeah, was any specific plans or details that you want to run through with respect to this?
Yeah, so Catherine did bring up a good point. Is there any way to get those stories up on our project board? Just because I feel like there's going to be a lot of moving pieces this time around, just so we can keep track where things are. And so that when we're referencing them, it's easier when we reference them by name as well, when we set up, calendar meetings with each other. But yeah, I think one thing we do need to talk about is, who's working on what, just because, the person who created the story doesn't necessarily mean that they might be working on it. So I think that is something we should talk about now.
All right. So if you go to, I can share this again.
Is it status? No, it's projects. We have to add it.
Yeah. If you go to the projects page, which was, sorry. Projects, and so the smart shopping list. If you click add item, you can actually add from the repository, and it brings up the entire list of all the new issues that you have here.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I just add them all.
You can also manually, so on each one of the issues has on the right-hand sidebar a projects section, which is blank for most of these, and you could fill it in that way. But this is actually probably a much more elegant way of dealing with that. So, hooray.
Yeah.
Is there certain things that need to happen first? So it looks like there's some, hey, we need to add chakra. Like that probably needs to go in before other junk.
Yeah, that has to happen first.
Yeah. Numbering, will that solve that problem?
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Mhm.
I think other than that one, the others might be like order agnostic.
Yeah, it should be.
I think the only two that kind of overlap, but again, it's more about merging the code, are like the add item drawer, like the ability to access that. I think that's going to be the only piece that kind of overlaps.
Have you all had any merge conflicts so far during this project?
I know I had one, and I think Jeremiah also had one. I want to say it resolved smoothly, but it didn't because I deleted an extra line of code, but that was because I wasn't careful. But if I realized that was there, I think I knew what I was doing. So
If it pops up, I think it's a good opportunity, a good learning opportunity as well.
Catherine had to like toss out a local branch, but I don't think we got like anything crazy. None of the real nasty ones that like you end up like pulling individual lines and tearing them apart. It's disappointing, but you know.
We still have one more week. Do we want to split up in the way that we were scheduled to split up next? I can't remember where we were at.
I mean, it probably makes sense that way since I think it's like East Coasters and West Coasters this week. So time zone wise, I think it makes sense.
yeah, so I think if we're going back on our, schedule before, I know I worked with Jeremiah last, so I think I would be with Tisha first and then Catherine, Jeremiah, but we do have more than
Okay.
one story this week, so it's very possible we'll shift twice. If you want to do that.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna take a real quick look at what we have. I think it would probably be best to get both of the chakra stories that you written out, Jeremiah, done. Did I? Oh, you do? Oh,
And slowly drifting towards the edge of your camera view. There you go.
Like, go back into view. Yeah, so there's two stories that Jeremiah wrote. I think we can bang those out tomorrow, hopefully. And then I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 other stories outside of that. Let me just think. So we might have to split 3 times. Yeah.
So that's one option. I mean, alternatively, you could just have pairs and each pair deal with like, the 4 issues that each member brought.
Okay. Or if you want to stick, because I know at least for me and Jeremiah, sometimes it's really hard for us to meet because we both work and our time zones are usually me at like 10:30 trying to work these guys out. We want to just do East Coasters and West Coasters if that makes it easier. I see Jeremiah nodding. Okay, we can do that too, just so that we have more time and it's easier to meet up. Yeah. Okay.
Wait, sorry, where did we end up with that? You
I
said we
think
want to do East Coasters, West Coasters instead of the, okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
So it's me and Tisha and okay.
Okay, cool.
That's fine. Yep. All right, I think that settles everything. Although we should probably talk about who's gonna do what. Let's take a look at them real quick. So there's the About Me page. If you also want to separate it by like amount of work, I know the list item page has a lot of stuff going on. And I feel like maybe the About Me page is a little bit easier because we're just adding text and formatting it. There's not much like in terms of like functionality. If you want to pair those two guys up for one team. And then what else is there? Let me
The
see.
add item, I think, is going to be
little
another
bit.
like heftier one. Yeah.
Yeah. So technically we only have 4 pages, right? We have home, we have About Me, we have add item, and then we have list, right? So there's 4 pages. So we can do 2. In terms of like a lot of stuff, there is add item and then there is list item, right? And we can pair it with the home and we can pair it with About Me, right? So we can take this offline and just talk about what we want to do, but I think that would be a fair split. Questions, comments?
How do y'all feel about the amount of work that has been defined? You still think it's an achievable amount of or a goal for the end of the week?
I feel like if everything goes smoothly, which is if you're all able to meet up, nothing happens, we get our reviews in time, at least for the initial chakra setup, then we can kind of go on our way smoothly. I feel like we are at capacity though. Like this week is going to be no joke. A lot of stuff to get done.
Is there anything that you would want to maybe not necessarily drop right now, but mark as candidates that are droppable should stuff get tight?
I mean, the only thing that's extra right now, I think, is the about page. It's probably not gonna take as long, but again, it's also a drawer. If we're gonna do it as a drawer, if we end up having issues with that. So I feel like the about could be, you know, superfluous if we get to the point where we're really like tapped out. But
So what would you
we
say
can keep
would be highest priority right now?
Getting that list page, yeah, home list ad. You know, I think the drawer was a nice to have, right? But worst case scenario, if it's too hard to implement or it takes too much time to implement, we can just add those as navigation items as a default.
Yeah, so could we like focus on the high priority items and then just work
Yeah.
our way down from there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. We don't want to do any assigning of any of that stuff now. We want to wait till we kind of get digging into it. And
I maybe can talk about it. We do have time, so you know what? Maybe let me share my screen and then we can just kind of talk about it now.
Who else is numbering them? I just clicked on edit and one of them is
sorry,
already
I
numbered.
started to number them.
It's okay. It's
You know what?
okay.
That's a good idea. Let's number them just so that you know.
I only
it's easy
numbered
to talk
just
about it.
the chakra because
first two,
the
okay.
chakra, yeah, the first two are blockers. So
Okay.
we don't necessarily like obviously we need to get those done before we do any. Well, it makes
Yeah.
it easier if we do those first.
Let's
I wouldn't say maybe they're blockers, but
let's order them from, I guess, order of priority, just so we kind of know what we need to get done first. So we said list was probably next, right? One chakra on the list. Okay, I think add item. Yeah, I think this would probably be next. Can I just edit this? Yeah, I can. So 16. Okay. And I think there was another one.
you just passed it. Oh, whoops.
Yeah, this is adding it in as oh wait, what the?
There's two. Yeah, there's two list item ones.
Oh, this was just copying it, right? The functionality of copying it. Search and be able to quickly add an item. Okay, so this is the functionality part versus like the color part, which are
No,
both.
I mean it's a little bit of both. For each of them. I kind of set it up between list and list items if you really look at the functionality, but it's all in that same view.
It's all right. Let's add these together. And they should go hand in hand. Let's see, 16. This is a drawer one. Was this the only add item one? Hold on. App. Oh, there's another one. Yeah, so this is the original functionality that we had going with add item. I'm just gonna group them together for now so we can see. These are both add item. Okay. So we said we were gonna do 14 and 15 together, so that leaves 16 and 17 together as list. Any takers? I know Catherine wrote this one originally.
I mean,
Okay.
I'd be down to take it. I don't know if anybody else wants to fight me for it. I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's be me and you, Catherine. If you want to, I want to work on it together, but I don't know what Tisha and Jeremiah feels like. This is one of the heftier ones, so we'll take the lighter one after this one. Any thoughts from you guys? Are you guys okay with us taking it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so then the other heftier one was add items. I know Tisha wrote that one. If you guys feel comfortable working on that one, then yeah, okay. And then next is the homepage. So I wrote that one, and then there was the Do you guys want to do the drawer, since this is also a drawer story with about me? Do you guys want to do it, or
Yeah, that's
okay?
fine.
Okay, so then we'll do the homepage and list, and then you'll do the add item and the about me page then. Okay. I think we're all set then.
Sweet. And what else? What else do we need to think about? What else do we need to decide? What else
Do
do we
the-
need to
Do the mentors see anything that we're missing?
think? It all is pretty well covered. My concern is simply that there's a lot of moving pieces here. In addition to it being a good chunk of work, which is not necessarily a problem, we kind of think that we can get it all done this week. That's okay. The bigger issue I see is coordination, because there's going to be a lot of different things going on. So that's not necessarily a problem, but it does require everybody to be relatively good at communicating what's going on. I haven't really had a problem with that in the past, so I think that you'll be doing that, but that would just be my own concern, is that this is a little bit more of a complex looking week than weeks in the past, and there's potential for you to trip over each other doing it. That's more
With
of like
that,
a,
would it be helpful if, so it was working before when we were just talking about the project in DMs among like us who are working on it, but would it be more helpful to talk about it in threads in our channel so that like if the mentors see anything or if we see anything for the other group, we like just have that transparency?
I think that makes sense. In general, always going to advocate for sort of higher visibility and communication. I know that people don't always feel the most comfortable doing things that way, but like, that would make sense. Devin, what do you think?
I don't, I mean, I have gone through some of your threads sometimes, and just to get a feel of what was happening. So I am okay with using threads to track progress once you all are, good with being transparent.
I did have one other question I want to bring up, because there are a lot of moving pieces, and specifically for the initial chakra setup. Can we, I guess, like get by with one mentor peer approval?
I wouldn't let anything slow you down this week in
Okay.
terms of feedback.
Okay.
By all means, seek it out. But it's not like we're gonna do a whole bunch to lock you up either. So don't let us get in your way. Okay.
Ready, break.
Hands in everybody.
All right. Well, so I am honestly genuinely impressed with the plan that's laid out here. This looks fairly professional, both from a design perspective and the laying out of the work perspective here. This is a very mature looking like approach towards digging in and getting this stuff done. So if it all crashed and burned from this point on, I would say at least you should feel good about the way that you've laid out this project and feeling really good about it. But at the same time, like, I also think that you're probably going to knock it out of the park. So You know, that's kind of what I expect to happen here. But you're definitely operating with a level of competence and maturity that is excellent. So good work there. All right. Any other last passing thoughts before we tell you to get out there and get it done?
Nope, but I'm kind of sad it's like second to last week. You guys have given me a lot of purpose over the last few weeks, so thanks.
All right. Well, continue to crush it. I have full confidence in this going great. So enjoy your week. Be noisy, loud, visible, and off you go.
Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.